Man, we are back in black in the building. Shout out to everybody out there at the Core Plantation, doing what you need to do to survive, man. Shout out to everybody out there handling business, making it do what it do, making $1 out of 150 cents. Roll call. Shout out to everybody in Arizona, homegirls, Miss Tanya, Latanya. Shout out to everybody in Vegas, all my siblings, everybody that's out there in Vegas, man. Shout out to them. Handling business, doing what they need to do to survive. My siblings, everybody that's working. Oh, man. That's the only thing, man. That's why we got to get some bread so we ain't all got to be working and we can max and relax and enjoy our homes that we own and, you know, that type of stuff. So shout out to everybody out there. Shout out to the homegirl, Jerica, as well in Las Vegas, Nevada. Shout out to my homegirl, both of them, my sisters. Shawnee from Philly. Man, shout out to Philly. Philly's definitely in the building. And shout out to the homegirl, Erica, Florida, a.k.a. Florida, in the building. And shout out to my brothers, James Youngblood, Texas in the building. And they're from No Compromise, Georgia's definitely in the building. And last but not least, shout out to the homegirl, Melina, in North Carolina, a.k.a. North Kakalaka. Man, we got a Budson burning today. We got a great one. Knowing FBA culture. And y'all can see my thumbnail. I got all our great legends. I got Hove, Kendrick, Pac, Nas, KRS-One, Lauryn Hill, everybody is on this picture. Flavor Flav, all of them. Man, you know what? I wanted to talk about this. I already did, and I can't wait to. I've been jotting down a lot of questions that I'm going to ask David and James. So I hope them brothers are prepared because I got a bunch of questions I'm going to ask them. But I'm going to give my particular take on things. I had a dialogue with somebody today. I'm looking him up. So I don't want to disrespect the brother. One of our Latino brothers, he reached out because he didn't like what I said. And I basically told him we can have a dialogue and a conversation. I would like to have a conversation with this brother. You know what I mean? Because I want to be more in depth to see what he's talking about. I think his name is Brandon. I think it's Brandon or whatever. And we gonna get into it. So let's get into it. Hey. Man. I know I'm sitting right up under the vent so that AC is blowing. But anyway, I know y'all can hear me. So shout out to all y'all out there handling business. Man, no, I was having a conversation with the Latino brother, and I'm going to read y'all the comments. I know y'all can go look on my page. I'm only used to Tasha leaving comments. I'll be laughing when she be leaving the comments too, because this shit do be funny. Or David will leave comments, or James Youngblood will leave comments, and the homegirl Erica will leave comments, you know, every now and then. But we all on the same page. I feel like it's a Facebook group, and I'm only talking to the people that I pretty much name all the time. My sisters and the homegirl Melina, Erica, Shawnee, David, and James. So for all y'all that's out there that's listening, it's no diss to anybody else. Those are the people that kind of started this conversation, this podcast. They're all responsible for the podcast, in my personal opinion, because these are the people that I talk to a lot and bounce ideas off of. And we talk about everything from housing to interest rates to stock to FBA culture to anti-black racism. So these are the people that you're going to always hear me mention a lot, because those are the people that I talk to and bounce ideas off. And you'll always hear me reference James Youngblood and Dave from No Compromise as my OGs, because those brothers know way more than me. So I always like to interview them because, like y'all heard me say before, Dave from No Compromise is the person that put me up on Dr. John Henry Clark. Like, I've heard people talk about him, but when you know somebody tangible, you can text or you can interview. Like, I used to interview David all the time. And you hear this brother constantly talking about Dr. John Henry Clark, Warren G. Dr. John Henry Clark, Warren G. You gotta study Dr. John Henry Clark. I'm like, and one day I went and listened to a lecture he did in like 96. And after that, I was blown away. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Like, I was just blown away. That brother just closed his eyes and just his memory was impeccable. And I was like, man, no wonder David be talking about Dr. John Henry Clark. And he also be talking about Dr. Amos Wilson. and Dr. Lena Jeffries. They be talking about a bunch of authors that we got to get on. And so that's why y'all hear me talk about him as my OG and James Youngblood as well, because those brothers are very, very knowledgeable about just the history in this country. You know, the United States of America Incorporated. And you will always hear me say the United States of America Incorporated due to it being a corporation. The United States of America is an LLC, a Delaware corporation. But that's a whole nother topic. Today, we're going to talk about knowing FBA culture. Now, this brother, Brandon Morales, y'all can go on YouTube. You know, I'm just addressing this brother because he wasn't disrespectful. So if you're not disrespectful, I'm not gonna go there with you. But I was laughing at Tasha's response because she was talking about when I said something about Morgan Freeman. Y'all know Morgan Freeman be on there talking about I don't see no racism because he want to stay employed in Hollywood, but he married his step granddaughter. That man is crazy. We ain't got time to be listening to him. But this brother, I think he's from, it says Dork from New York or whatever. He might be East Coast, so he might be a Puerto Rican or Dominican or whatever like that. I don't know. I want to have a different conversation with this brother. I would like to have a conversation with this brother, and I would like to have a conversation with James Youngblood and Dave for No Compromise. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully this brother can find someone and we can have a dialogue, because we need to start having these conversations. But it's got to be with love and it's got to be with respect. And it's okay to disagree. We just got to have that dialogue. And this brother says, sorry, bro, this is my first video I'm watching of yours, and stopped at Latinos culture is Cinco de Mayo, because we are all just, hold on, let me see. We are just one big group to you. You are just as racist and prejudiced as the media. You say gave JJ Redick his Laker job and ain't no forward momentum to strike peace to the cause. I hear what you're saying, that Juneteenth is a black holiday and deserves that respect, but you could have gone a different route than to diminish our education, explaining how Latinos are illiterate. So I kind of addressed them. I addressed them, but here, I hope this brother's listening to it so he can understand. First of all, I was speaking on the Latino community that spoke out against Kendrick Lamar not inviting them on stage and not showing more reverence and homage to the Latino Hispanic community in Los Angeles, California, which is very different from the East Coast community of Latinos. So we're going to start there first. And second, when we have this dialogue, it's with love. Now, let me just tell you this. We're going to forego the anti-black racism and all that. We're just going to speak on pure facts. And pure facts, Cinco de Mayo is really big in Los Angeles, California, and on the West Coast, meaning Arizona, Nevada, California, New Mexico, Texas. Cinco de Mayo is really big. That's a really big Latino Hispanic cultural holiday for them. And out of respect, I feel like every foundational black American I've ever met or whatever, we don't go around asking the Latino community, can we be included? And y'all not showing us enough reference and none of that. No, that's their independence. They want to celebrate that. That's their right to do that. And we respect that. And we nod to that. Like I said before, that's their culture. I was addressing that community. That's first. So I was addressing that community. For them to take what Kendrick Lamar did on Juneteenth, that is beyond special to foundational black Americans. It's a nationally, federally recognized holiday because of slavery, because of us building this country for free without repayment. So that is very and highly disrespectful that any other racial group will be complaining and being oppositional of RIP to Nipsey, because I'm thinking about Nipsey Hussle. I've been thinking about him a lot. But for Kendrick Lamar and the people that he know and he has reverence for and respect, to be like, well, he didn't do enough for Latino community, I really, that kind of struck me as like, that doesn't even have anything to do to y'all, do with y'all, and that's very disrespectful. So we'll address that first. Most Latinos don't even know what Juneteenth is, and they don't even know what it means. And I'll stand by what I said. I'm not saying that there are no educated Latinos or Hispanics. But what I am going to tell you is a lot of other racial groups run their mouth based on what the dominant society has told them. not what they have actually read and researched. I don't claim to know anything. This is why this podcast is called No, I Don't Know. That's why it's called that. Because no, I don't claim to know everything. I don't claim to know a lot. I claim to know a little bit out of a lot of information. So that's why I addressed it the way I did. Now, let's move it a little further to the third point. Because I hope this brother is really listening. Now, if you want me to, I can address the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, the Haitians. Let me address them. It's so funny how you have the Puerto Rican Day Parade in Las Vegas, Nevada, held at Sunset Park. Not saying that Puerto Ricans are not welcoming to foundational Black Americans. I never said that at all. But Puerto Ricans have their own cultural identity of what they do. Right? The Dominicans as well. The Haitians as well. Why is it when foundational Black Americans start to delineate from other racial groups, it becomes a problem? Now, my brother, Brandon, I was not calling Hispanics illiterate. What I was saying is the majority of them don't know history. So let me correct myself if I did say it. I must say it again. A lot of Latinos and Hispanics don't know history. They're not researching what has gone on in this country of the United States of America Incorporated. That's why I said what I said, because I've worked around different racial groups, not just white, not just Latino. I've worked around Asians. I've worked around Haitians. And a lot of them don't even know. I've spoken to Haitians. They didn't even know what 1804 was. And that was their liberation against the French. So I've spoken to a lot of different racial groups that are not really familiar with their own culture. And that's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But the reason why I'm saying this is because y'all other racial groups, and I'm addressing this brother with love, y'all are quick to say, oh, Black people are, you're just as racist and prejudiced. First of all, let me explain something to you. This is to my brother Brandon. I don't know his lineage. I don't know what his racial group is, but I'll say this. Black folk cannot be racist. We don't own any boats, no resources, nothing. Let me break it down to you. Racism is the competition of resources. That's what it is. You need to read Black Labor, White Wealth by Dr. Claude Anderson, and he will break down racism in its rarest form. And it's the competition of resources to use those resources to benefit your culture and your racial group. The dominant society owns all of the resources. What does it benefit? Their racial group. Warren, what do you mean? Let's look at the top 10 Fortune 500 companies. Like Berkshire Hathaway. Last time I checked, Warren Buffett is the dominant society. Bill Gates, Microsoft, the dominant society. Need I go on? And I'm talking about in the United States of America Incorporated. If you read Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's The ISIS Paper or read Neely Fuller Jr.'s book, The Compensatory Counter-Racist Code of Ethics, as my brother from David from No Compromise will say, even James Youngblood, they the masters of confusion. The dominant society, which are white people, they dominate 9 areas of people activity. So I'm going to break it down for you so you can understand. They dominate religion, Brother Brandon. So you're going to say, well, Warren, how do they dominate religion? They dominate religion. Who do you pray to? Who do you see in every church? A blonde-haired, blue-eyed white Jesus, which is nothing but Cesare Borgia, a Spaniard. That's who they said Jesus Christ is. So there's your religion. That's one. They dominate the labor force. Who runs and owns the labor force? The dominant society. Last time I checked, Bill Gates owns Microsoft. Berkshire Hathaway is owned by Warren Buffett, who just happens to own Nevada Power in Las Vegas, Nevada. Right. Okay, let's see. Entertainment. Who runs entertainment? Hollywood, correct? The white dominant society runs Hollywood. See, certain people like to play the word salad and say, oh, well, the Jews own it. Well, the Jews classify themselves as white. So we're not going to say, oh, well, they're Jewish. Well, they're still white. So we're going to go with that one. They dominate Hollywood and entertainment. Education, they dominate education. Those HBCUs are owned and operated by the dominant society. And a lot of them are named after the dominant society. Shout out to my brothers, James Youngblood and David from No Compromise again, because we did a Twitter space or either an Instagram live, and David from No Compromise was the one, and James Youngblood who put me up to the game that he's like, bro, Warren G, most of them black colleges, they own those are named after white people. David was the one who told me that Spelman was after Rockefeller's wife or somebody like that. And since we mentioned Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller, the biggest oil tycoon and a fun friend of the Federal Reserve who prints the money. He's a dominant society. So didn't I say they run labor? Of course they run law. Who presides as the most judges? The dominant society. Labor, law, education, entertainment, economics. Who dominates economics in the United States of America Incorporated, you guys? The dominant society. So when you hear people like our brothers say, oh man, that's racist and that prejudice, everybody has prejudicial views. But racism is when you can use your power and resources to oppress another racial group. Black folks have no power. We have no resources. We own no cakes, no plates, no pies, no boats, no planes, no agriculture, no land. We don't own and dominate that. Let me give you a statistic in California. 19% of black folk own homes in California. 62.9% of the dominant society own homes in California. But you're going to tell me that we're racist? Shouting out racial epithets is one thing. But when you look and you view when you get to the crux of anti-black racism or just racism, white supremacy as a whole, we can't be racist because we don't own any major resources. I'm not talking about Puff Daddy and Bad Boy and Suge Knight and Death Row, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about major resources. We don't own any of them. So since we don't own any of them, we're not racist. But we are inside the system of racism, white supremacy. So back to my point of addressing this brother, Brandon, who seems like he's pretty knowledgeable and it wants to have a decent conversation. And I welcome that. But I'm going to tell you right now, we need to discuss facts and books. I'm not going to go by who he said, she said. I do facts, not feelings. Because we can be in our feelings all day. And let me tell you, if you even go back to the Fred Hampton days when he wanted to develop the Rainbow Coalition, he was trying to get them to understand how racism and white supremacy was really working. So our brother Fred Hampton was on to do something very great and historical. Remember how I said Neely Fuller Jr. said they dominate 9 areas of people activity, and so did Dr. Francis Cress Welsing? Remember we were talking about that law? Mr. Brandon, remember we're talking about that? I want everybody to listen to what I'm saying, because I cuss and laugh and joke, but I could be very, 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 very serious. And remember we're talking about law? Well, there's a book about Fred Hampton. I suggest you read it, how J. Edgar Hoover, who's a part of the dominant society, who was the director of the FBI for 40 years, invented the system COINTELPRO. And he worked alongside the Chicago PD to orchestrate the assassination of Fred Hampton, our FBA brother. There's another book I would suggest, and I'm not trying to act like I know. I don't know. There's a book called The Burglary. It's written by a white woman, dominant society, about these white people that broke into the FBI building and exposed the COINTELPRO files. And I quote, J. Edgar Hoover said, we're gonna make it where these black people feel like we're at every mailbox, every window, every door, basically to try to fight in foundational black Americans. We're looking to seek and destroy the next black messiah. That's J. Edgar Hoover, part of the FBI, the director for 40 years. They named a building after him. This is what has been done to foundational Black Americans, sir. So when you sit here and you say we are racist, and I don't think you really understood the context of what I was talking about. I'm talking about West Coast culture within FBA culture. That's what I'm talking about. But if you want to extend it to the Dominicans and the Puerto Ricans, I have no problem. I know Puerto Ricans. I know Dominicans. I have no problem with them. But they are really quick to delineate from foundational Black Americans when it comes to promote their culture. But then when it's time for us to promote our culture and stand on our FBA business, then we're being divisive or we're being racist. I meant what I said about JJ Redick, and I meant what I said about LeBron. That was Sambo behavior. I don't know LeBron personally, but for you to sit back and allow Darvin Ham to be terminated nationally in front of all his peers when they didn't even want Magic Johnson, the greatest Laker ever, to fire Luke Walton, that is anti-Black racism from Jeannie Buss. And I don't care what anybody else says. I don't care about, it's the nature of the business. Stop. If it was the nature of the business, then why didn't you just allow Magic Johnson to fire Luke Walton? So stop. I don't want to hear that. But I'm taking the time to explain to you where I'm coming from, because I want everybody to understand there's a lot of people that are bereft of knowledge. They haven't done the thorough research. They come to this country, or their families come to this country. They eat off this country, eat off our culture, and then they take their money and put it back in their communities. And then they look at us from a standpoint of condescension, as if they are better than foundational Black Americans. We didn't flee at all. My last name is not Obababatunde. My name is not nothing. I'm named after one of the presidents. So I know where my lineage goes back to. Sorry. My family grew here. Y'all flew here. We grew here. And I'm not specifically speaking to other people, but I'm talking about in general. People come here. They build wealth for their families. They build wealth for, the people around them. And I'm not mad at them for that. But then what they want to do is look at foundational Black Americans like, oh, y'all lazy. Oh, y'all this. Oh, y'all that. No, that is done by design. Hence why nobody likes Donald Trump, because he's an equal opportunity racist. He doesn't like any racial group. I'm pretty sure, didn't he ask the Puerto Ricans, y'all need to be worried about getting toilet tissue? And then all the Puerto Ricans, oh man, we gotta get him out of here, man, he racist. Oh, as long as we are the butt of every joke, all these other racial groups stand by and laugh and participate in it. I don't live in New York or on the East Coast, but that's why I have my OG David from No Compromise, who can tell me all about how New York is constructed with all these bodegas that foundational Black Americans don't own. Now, how is it you can come to New York, you're not from this country, and open up bodegas and liquor stores and have all these little subgroups within subgroups and make money and recycle your Puerto Rican dollar or Dominican dollar or Jamaican dollar or Haitian dollar? But when it comes to foundational Black Americans, we don't own anything, and it's always oh, you guys are ghetto, you guys are this, you guys are that. It's so funny that we know our history, but a lot of y'all don't know your history. I know where my history is. I know it's called Slavery by Another Name. It's called The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. It is called The Burglary. It is called The Sweet Taste of Liberty. It is called Never Caught, The Untold Story of Una Judge. It is called, it's so many books. I've already forgot a lot of them because I'd have read a lot of them a while ago, and I'm going to start back into reading. But I just wanted to address this because this brother, I don't think this brother was responding ill will. I think this brother was just misinformed. I'm talking about my brother Brandon. Because it's really easy to say that foundational Black Americans are racist because you don't like what we're saying, but I'm speaking facts. I'm not speaking feelings. You say, well, Warren, I'm going to repeat it to you again. Why is it when Magic Johnson couldn't fire Luke Walton, but you hired him to be the president of basketball operations, where they have the power and autonomy to fire the head coach? And then Magic Johnson comes out and says, every time I wanted to fire Luke Walton, somebody white had to be in there. So what do you think that Jenny Bus did? It's called Racial Showcasing Confusion. Go read it. It's in the Compensatory Counter-Racial Code of Ethics by Neely Fuller Jr., my brother. I just need you to go read these books. And I'm not trying to be funny, because I think people that have not really read and studied the United States of America's history, you're gonna just look at black folk like we just complaining to be complaining. But I don't never see y'all talk about the white dominant society Jewish brothers and sisters. When they talk about the Holocaust, which took place in Europe, we are beyond sensitive of that, right? Because what took place with them was an atrocity, a debacle, a travesty that's out of line. That Hitler would be one of those type of people to do something like that. But what about Thomas Jefferson? What about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln? What about all these white supremacists who wanted to maintain the system? What about those people, our so-called founding fathers, who felt like black people were put here to be slaves? Like Francis Scott Keys, you know, the like that bridge that ironically that ship crashed into that bridge. Francis Scott Keys, if you don't know, was a lawyer, an attorney, and owned over 200 slaves, and he wrote a song called The Star Spangled Banner. But they left out the third verse, because the third verse talks about how we are put here to be slaves for the dominant society. See, these are facts. This is not feelings, my brother. So when you call black folks, especially foundational black Americans, racist, you need to understand what you're talking about. And I want to cite those sources. Where did you get this from, where black folks can be racist? Tell me. Because we don't have any power. We don't run any major resource power plants or anything like that. Like I said, didn't I just mention Warren Buffett there's two classes that Warren Buffett owns. Berkshire Hathaway A and Berkshire Hathaway B. One is traded for over $350,000 a share, and one is like $190 a share. And under Berkshire Hathaway, he owns Geico, Nevada Power, RC Willey. This is all Googleable stuff. You can Google this stuff. But where I'm getting my information from is from the books, just like I said about George Washington. Why would George Washington say, I don't want to hire any white slaves? Why, George Washington? He specifically said it in the book called Never Caught, The Untold Story of Una Judge. I don't want to hire white people because they complain and they're lazy. And I don't want to hire them and they don't do good work. I like basically niggas. That's exactly what he said. I like niggas because they get the job done, they do it well, and they don't complain. Now, out of all the history and all the books and all the stuff, right? Let's just put it out there. Why? Not one time in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, they're not mentioning no Latinos, no Hispanics, which they just made that term up. No Latinos, no Afro-Latinos. I remember once upon a time, no other Latino group wanted to be associated with foundational black Americans. As my brother David from No Compromise educated me, he said they would call our music Moreno music. That's what he said that they would call it. Meaning, oh, that's that black music. Oh, you hating with the blacks. So why is it all of a sudden when we delineate and we start calling out the facts, we are racist? Everything I said about J.J. Redick and the Lakers organization, I've been talking about them for the last 2 years, ever since Magic left that organization, that she is operating under the system of anti-black racism. Yeah, she likes Magic, but you're the help. Magic's like, man, I'm a billionaire too. I don't need to do this. I'm doing this to help you. Yeah, but we kind of need Magic because no other black people really want to come play for the Lakers organization because we're a joke. So I'm going to racial showcase, confuse everyone and make it where Magic is in charge when really he really wasn't in charge. And it's so funny that Rob Pelinka put that team together, but Darvin Ham gets fired, but he doesn't. And then I quote other white people telling me, well, he doesn't get any worse than Darvin Ham. Last time I checked, LeBron James is fucking 40 years old. Anthony Street Clothes Davis is trash, and that organization traded away damn near all their good players. This is why I said this is the system of racism, white supremacy. And she's acting under the guise of anti-black racism. Because you should have fired Rob Pelinka too. Why would you let him fire the whole coaching staff and Darvin Ham and publicly humiliate him when Rob Pelinka put that team together? They usually fire the GMs, don't they? But Rob Pelinka's white. Right, I forgot. I digress. So, my brother, and I'm going to end it with this. I am welcoming you to a live. Man, reach out to me. We can exchange information and we can have this dialogue, because I feel like once you understand exactly what we are talking about, I think that it isn't about you agreeing with me. I think it's about you having a different perspective of like, oh, I see what he means. Like, yeah, that ain't right, or I don't agree with that, but he's got a great point. Because it's all about perspectives. And if I stereotyped the Latino community as one big Latino community group, then I do apologize. But I will say this, as far as the Latinos in the West Coast, they're a little different from the Latino community on the East Coast. But what I can tell you about all the Latino groups, they operate under the guidelines of empowering their racial group first. I don't ever, and have never, ever really heard any other Latino really sit down and be like, dog, foundational Black Americans are owed everything. They built this country. Everybody copies their culture. Everybody wants to be a part of it. No. You know what other racial groups that are doing, especially the Latino group is doing, that I find highly disrespectful? Lying, talking about hip hop was created 50-50. Stop. That's beyond disrespectful, because if it was, where is the Puerto Rican Nas? Or the Puerto Rican Jay-Z? Or the Puerto Rican Pac? Where are these people? Or the Puerto Rican Ice Cube? Or the Puerto Rican Snoop? Or the Puerto Rican Game? Or the Puerto Rican Kendrick Lamar? Or the Puerto Rican Schoolboy Q? Where are these people since y'all created it 50-50, right? Where is the Puerto Rican or Dominican Dr. Dre? Or the Puerto Rican or Dominican Timbaland? Or DJ Premier? Where are they? Or Battle Cat? Or Daz? Where are these people at? I'm very interested to know. Somebody please answer these questions for me, because I really would like to know. You're like, Warren, why are you saying this? Because it is important to have these dialogues and these conversations, because I'm not saying that the Latinos are illiterate. What I am saying is y'all don't know y'all history. Y'all don't know y'all history in this country. It's easy to amalgamate people with our history or blend it together and muddy up the waters. Like, oh, well, Puerto Ricans have already been here. No, y'all haven't always been here. You better go read the New York Kidnapping Club. In the 1800s, they wasn't talking about no Latino racial group, period. That's what frustrates me, because now in 2024, everybody think they can latch on and liken their struggle to foundational Black American struggle. And I stand on this, my brother Brandon. You can't find one racial group that been through what foundational Black Americans have been through in this country and contributed to this country. We are the free labor force that you stand on. That's why I find it highly disrespectful. Because the majority of the books, when it's talking about slavery, it's 1800s, my brother. They're not talking about no Puerto Rican class, no Dominican class, no Haitian class, no none of that. It's talking about white folk and Black folk. When you read Medical Apartheid, it does not mention any Puerto Ricans, any Dominicans. When George Washington was talking about slaves, he didn't say, you know what? I don't like these niggas or the white people. Bring me, what's they called? Bring me them Dominicans and them Puerto Ricans. No. When he was talking about labor, he was talking about free Black labor. When Patty Cannon in the Delmarva River, go read that book. Patty Cannon and the Delmarva River. Go read that book. That lady was awful. When her and her family was robbing slave ships, they weren't picking up Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and Hispanics or Mexicans or El Salvadorians or Guatemalans. They were robbing those slave ships for black people, foundational black Americans, because we were already here. So that's why I just wanted to talk about that today, because knowing FBA culture means everything. And when you don't know it, you probably shouldn't speak on it. Even though you have a right to rebut and say what you want to say, but if you are bereft of knowledge and you don't know really what's going on and you're going by what the dominant society is telling you, then we really need to have a conversation. Because we need to start educating other racial groups in the sense of, man, y'all need to read more and do more studying, because every other racial group is just going by what the dominant society has told them. They're not going and buying these books and sitting down and reading these books. Y'all not doing that. And that's why the conversations are so convoluted. Even the 50-50. Man, what? In the 90s, the only Latino Hispanic people that was in hip hop that was relevant was Fat Joe and Big Pun. Other than that, y'all tell me who was the big influences in hip hop in the 80s and the 90s. Because I'm going to tell you, I don't remember them speaking of nobody else but Big Pun and Fat Joe. I have respect for Fat Joe and Big Pun. They did their thing. I like that Big Pun did give black Americans credit for doing, making a way for hip hop. But I'm just going to say, FBA culture has been mimicked and tried to be replicated so many times over. Everybody wants to sing gospel. You're going to look up, and all these other racial groups are going to be talking about, they created gospel 50-50. I'm telling you. And see, my brother Brandon, I'm going to leave it at this, and we need to reach out to me, bro, so we can have this conversation. Here's the reason why Hispanics and Latinos couldn't have created hip-hop 50-50. First of all, you are lacking melanin. See, because with melanin comes a certain rhythm vibration. You need to read the Kabbalion. See, we naturally possess the law of rhythm. No other racial group does. That's why we are the trendsetters. The last time I checked, shout out to Nipsey Hussle, I have not seen or heard any other racial group getting popular off of doing any other racial group's music but ours. Most people you see on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, what type of music are they replicating where they're getting hundreds of thousands and hundreds of millions of views? Foundational Black American music. And since we naturally possess the law of rhythm and y'all don't, you need to do the research on that. That's why you guys were making your type of music. So if you were Dominican, I'm pretty sure that's the type of music. There's got to be some type of cultural music that y'all would listen to that maybe might be in Spanish. If you're Puerto Rican, that's the type of music that you're going to listen to culturally that might be in Spanish. I know for the Latinos on the West Coast, Hispanic Mexicans, they listen to mariachi music. That is their culture. And there is nothing wrong with being proud of your culture. But when it comes to foundational Black Americans, we are the trendsetters. You better look up Michael Jackson. Everybody wants to dance like Michael Jackson. And the only person that can captivate our eyes in 2024, since 2005, is the great foundational Black American Chris Brown out of Virginia. Isn't it so lovely, FBA family, that we can just pick from all over the United States of America? We got a foundational Black American who's a trendsetter. So I am waiting to see when we find these other racial groups that set trends like Michael Jackson, like Diana Ross, like Aretha Franklin, like Chris Brown. And let's not even get on producers. Dr. Dre, a foundational Black American. I don't agree with everything Dr. Dre does and says, but he's a foundational Black American, and I don't think there's a producer touching Dr. Dre. So I just wanted to let you know that. Y'all don't possess the natural law of rhythm, so there is no way you could have created hip-hop 50-50 with foundational Black Americans. Stop the lies. Let's have this conversation. My brother Brandon, reach out to me, my brother. And let's have this dialogue. I want to get you, my OGs, Dave from No Compromise, and James Youngblood, and we can go on Instagram Live with love and respect, and we can have this dialogue, man. Shout out to everybody out there. I'm out. Guilty, nigga. Peace.